What's up, America? I'm Danny T. Welcome to the show. Well, last week we talked about how Massachusetts uh, pretty much legalized abortions till birth. Uh, this week, I guess Democrats are rooting for someone who's aborting babies after birth, right? We're talking about Lindsay Clancy. She's 36 years old. She was a mother of three. Uh, she killed each one of her kids. You know, just assuming the other ones were watching as it was happening, uh, pretty disgusting. After she murdered her three children, she tried killing herself by jumping out of a window. She is paralyzed for life now. I think she deserves that, at least. Uh, it's just insane. You hear a lot of people blaming the father and all this, saying she was being drugged. I don't think the husband was drugging her. She was on 13 different prescriptions. Uh, it's just insane to me. 13 of them in and out of psychiatrists and doctors. It was nothing new. This mental problem she had. Uh, it's just insane. On top of just all the women out there showing support for her, claiming that it's not her fault. Uh, which that in itself is gross to me too. But she has raised from her GoFundMe almost $1 million at this point, which is insane. Now it doesn't go to her. She is getting sentenced right now, but it does go to probably her family. I'm assuming, which I feel like all that money should go to her husband to kind of compensate for his loss a little bit or whatever. It's just insane. Uh, Again, this wasn't something that just happened. As I said, 13 different prescriptions, in and out of hospitals, talking to doctors, about her mental health. She also, uh, before that, there were diary entries, of her saying how she's overwhelmed and, uh, she has a feeling like she's drowning and panic attacks and all that. During the murder, she claims that, uh, you know, she was hearing voices and stuff like that, she felt like she was being taken over by an external force. I guess like possession is what she's trying to say, or something like that. Uh, Even after the fact, she told a nurse that she was glad her kids were safe. This is after her kids were already murdered. Uh, it's just disgusting that this is going on. I understand murders happen. On top of the murder, it's just the support she's getting from these feminists. Uh, I don't care about your mental health after you do something like that. It's just insane. She hasn't been sentenced yet, but she's looking at either life in prison or they're gonna put her in a psychiatric facility until she's deemed better. Um, you know what? Out of the two, I really think life in prison is the best, but in all honesty, I don't think either of those are good enough. I think she deserves a chair. Um, I think they should use a bone dry sponge when they fry her too. That's not going to happen. It's not on the table. That's just, that's my opinion. Um, you know, I- it's just gross. On top of this, you have, other moms. I don't want to call them mothers or moms. You have other baby factories out there that are harming these children. You have Melissa Sanchez. She's 26 years old from Florida. Now she's a real estate agent and an online influencer. She's also an illegal alien. She's here illegally. I believe she came here under Biden, is what I heard. I didn't really look into that part too much. Um, but she has Instagram videos of her pouring hot candle wax on her legs, and then she turns around and poured the hot candle wax on her two children. One is 6 and one is 8 years old. She had another Instagram video of her pouring what authorities say was probably rubbing alcohol on a pile of clothes and setting her kitchen on fire. Uh, After that, her 6-year-old came out with a bowl of water to put out the fire. It's just insane that a 6-year-old is more of a parent or an adult than the actual parent is. Her husband actually contacted police after seeing the videos. He's the one that got her arrested. Now she was sent to a hospital to get evaluated for her mental state. After that, she was booked by police. Uh, she's being held there without bond. She's facing 3 charges right now. One is first degree arson, child abuse, and 2 counts of child neglect. Uh, on top of this, immigration, she has a immigration hold placed on her. So, hopefully we can get her out of our country after all this too. Uh, but that's not it. We got one more, 3 times a charm, right? We have Lakin Snelling. She's 22 years old. Now she's a former University of Kentucky cheerleader. She pled guilty to first degree murder. Her roommate actually notified authorities after finding a dead newborn in a closet. Now, Snelling admitted to giving birth, and then she ended the baby's life by what she said was depriving him of oxygen. She then wrapped him in a towel and then placed him in a garbage bag and left him in the closet. On top of manslaughter, she pled guilty to abuse of a corpse, tampering with evidence, and concealing the birth of an infant. Now she won't be sentenced until October 16th, but prosecutors are pushing for 13 years in prison. Uh, all of these women here have been claiming stress and depression and hormones. You know what? I really don't think your mental state matters after you murder someone, after you harm someone. If you're a threat to society, the people around you, your own children, if you're able to kill your offspring, your mental health is your responsibility. You should take care of that when issues arise. I don't think we should be trying people based on mental health. If you commit a crime, you should get charged as a criminal. I really don't care about your mental health or your hormones or anything. Obviously with Clancy, 13 prescriptions didn't help her crazy ass. I don't think anything would, and I don't think it's an excuse for murder, no matter what her mental state was. Um, it's just insane to me that this whole thing. I really don't think any of these women should be let off the hook for hormones or anything. Because the Democrats are going to keep pushing this in other places. Especially with things like the trans community. Um, we already see the mental freakouts when, they claim you're misgendering them, but they misgender themselves, and then they flip out when you call uh, someone with a dick and a dress a man instead of a woman. They flip out on you, acting like you're the problem. We can see what mental health and pumping people full of hormones or whatever can do. These people need help just like these women. But as I've said, help should happen before the crime happens. Um, Once a crime is committed, I don't care about your mental health. I feel like we should all feel that way. Um, Especially the goalpost being pushed all the time. Uh, we can't give an inch on this because it's just going to go down the board. We already have Democrats wanting to abolish the police, defund the police. They want more social workers, less jails. I don't think that's the answer. I think a criminal needs punishment. You don't need a social worker anymore. You need a corrections officer once you commit a crime this heinous. It's my opinion. Let me know what you guys think. Uh, it's just wild. um, but psych ward should be um, you know, there uh, for these people ahead of time. You can check yourself into a psych ward. Um, Maybe when you're talking to these psychiatrists and stuff, I understand doctor-patient confidentiality, but maybe some of these women should have their children taken away a long time ago. It's just crazy to me that this is even a thing. But moving off of this, another court case, Carmelo Anthony's retrial has been denied. We heard the past couple days they were pushing for one. Uh, in case you were sleeping under a rock, he got 35 years for stabbing Austin Metcalf at a high school track meet. He sat at a rival school's tent. He refused to leave, and when Metcalf tried to remove him, Anthony pulled out a knife and stabbed him. Uh, it was we heard a lot of race baiting. We had people acting like Carmelo was defending himself, which wasn't the case at all. Um, as they said in court, you can't respond to a shove with a knife, and I totally agree with that. It's not self-defense if you're provoking a situation. We also heard the jury was all white. At least that's the way they're trying to push it out, and that's just not true. We've talked about this before. There were no black people on the jury, but there were whites, Hispanics, Middle Easterns, even Asians. It definitely wasn't just an all-white jury convicting an innocent black man here. It was. I think the crime was. I think the punishment fits the crime. I actually think another one. I do believe he deserves life in prison for what he's done. But 35 years, he's got a chance at parole at the halfway mark. I guess we got to take what we can get. Um, it's just crazy. All this is crazy. They called for a retrial because the judge came out saying that he agreed with the jury. So, they were acting like the judge was biased and just wanted to put Anthony away. Which, I mean, anyone that can see this, I guess, we remember Jasmine Crockett coming out claiming that, uh, the bladed weapon wasn't a knife because it wasn't long enough. She claimed that Carmelo Anthony shouldn't be charged with murder because he only stabbed him once. Just a ridiculous BS out of that moron's mouth is insane, but it was out there, and people believe it. People go for it. I guess if you're on the Democratic side, you just believe any nonsense, and it's crazy to me too. Um, but it was denied because they did have evidence tucked away that showing that he had text messages showing a pattern of violence. Um, he he was talking about murdering people for a while. He had an obsession with knives and weapons in general. There were graffiti that he was doing, which was very racist, like anti-white graffiti, apparently. There were text messages of him talking about wanting to shoot up his school. Just a long line of him wanting this situation to happen, just baiting someone. And unfortunately, Metcalf was just the kid that was there that granted Carmelo's wish of violence, which is again just sick. It's sick that anyone defends any of these people. Those three women, this guy here, I don't understand. Crime is a crime. It doesn't matter what color you are. If you're a jury of your peers does not mean that a black man should be tried by 12 black men. It's we're all Americans. Those are your peers. I Our justice system isn't perfect, but you know what I mean. It's pretty good. It's pretty fair for what it is. Um, Again, I think he should have got life in jail for this or the death penalty, but 35 years is what we got, right? But moving off of this, another court case. It seems like today's just all court, all trials. Fauci's senior of scientific former senior of scientific advisor David Morans is how you say his name, I believe. He pled guilty to conspiracy to defund the United States government. He was using personal emails to delete official records. So the Freedom of Information Act couldn't be used to see what was really going on. It's just crazy. Again, it's crazy. Fauci pled guilty over 100 times. This guy pled guilty. Hopefully, they can do something with this to cross over to kind of trap Fauci in a corner. Uh, Somehow, still got to get rid of that Biden pardon, though. But nonetheless, uh, the he was hiding like the origins of the COVID virus and where it came from, where funding was going, things like that. He worked with Peter Daszak. Uh, Now he is the president of Ecolabs Alliance. He was trying to restore a drop grant to COVID research over at the Wuhan labs. Dzak was also giving gifts to Morans in return for assistance from the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Disease. eh, he was just covering stuff up. He was teaching Fauci how to get rid of emails, apparently. Morenz is currently looking at 5 years, but he's not being sentenced till November 12th, which is crazy to me. Daszak isn't facing criminal charges at this point, but Congress is investigating, and his involvement and Health and Human Services is trying to cut funding to him and Ecolab Health Alliance, which I think is perfect. I don't understand why we are still funding things like this when clearly, a lot of us knew there was something up. Uh, the people got silenced. People had shows demonetized. You had legit doctors were treated like they were like quacks for just questioning what Fauci was pushing out there. You kept hearing trust the science, but other scientists and other doctors weren't agreeing with the science that was being pushed. On top of just the shutdowns, everything being shut down. Uh, people weren't allowed to go to church, you weren't allowed to be in public places. People were getting arrested on beaches. Just the whole thing was fucked, in my opinion. I really hope that they can get Fauci on something. It seems like they're finally starting to get people around him to go down. Hopefully, a domino effect happens and uh, we get to see Fauci behind bars. I think that would be amazing. But that's really all I got for you today, America. If you like things I talk about, give my channel a like, share, and subscribe. You can follow me on Rumble. It's where I like to be. I'm also on YouTube, constantly posting on Facebook. And I'll see you later, America.